Hello there. It's March 16th, 2021. I'm Joe Weston, and we are here with this wonderful, loving community to do our weekly online global practice for reviving the global heart. And it's great to see you all again, and continue this practice as we're going along. As world events continue to unfold as they're unfolding, as we all continue to unfold as we're unfolding. Uh, um, as spring is emerging, we gather together, sharing what I would believe is a common vision that through the heart, that there is possibility for all of the issues that we're dealing with for new solutions to emerge. That we're not excluding the mind or the intellect, but that an over-reliance on the intellect has proven for maybe centuries, maybe more, that that's not the most resourceful way to solve our true global problems, that's part of the solution, and that when we can revive our own hearts and realize that in the revival of our own global hearts, understand and experience fully the power of that, for connection, for compassion, for the transformative elements of that, for deeper levels of wisdom, for using common sense, that in combination with technology and data and information is the solution. And that's what we are cultivating here is, while I would say many of us here are quite smart and intelligent and in our own ways, and we know a lot of people who are, and we live in a culture where that is celebrated and where that is given more focus. That what we cultivate here is the power of the heart and the wisdom of the heart, and not just as an idea, but as an embodied experience, that within yourself, that in every moment, imagine in every moment, in every thought, in every word, in every action, that you are not only navigating with a certain level of reason and intelligence, but that you're radiating from your heart, and that engaging with yourself, with others, and the planet itself in a way that fosters deeper levels of connection and compassion. So that's what we're here for. If you didn't know that, that's why we're here. I think you already knew that. I think you knew that decades ago, maybe centuries ago. So it's nice that you've shown up now. And we're in the middle of a series that I want to continue this week, called the 8 Ailments and Remedies of the global heart, where I was offering a perspective on why is it that we're stuck in this polarity, in the state of the world as it is. That's the big question. Why are we in this, and how can we find our ways out of it? And for me, in my investigation of that through many years of observing human behavior, I broke it down into that the ailments, well, that the causes is just what I spoke to, that we, and there are many great leaders who would support that I've talked about in the past. An over-reliance on technology and data and information, which has brought us closer together around the globe. There have been benefits to that. We have set up an infrastructure globally that actually is set up for more interdependence, more interconnectedness to actually solve our problems. We've done that part. The next step is cultivating more authentic human relationships and finding a way to communicate in a way that really fosters bridging as opposed to breaking, and brings us closer to overcoming the challenges we have in how we label each other, so that we can actually, in an inclusive way, in a collaborative way, find new solutions to our current problems. And so in this examination, I was saying, well, what are the ailments? So in this, that to me is the suffering of a global heart, is that technologically flourishing, but I would say spiritually malnourished from the human perspective. And what I identified were 8 different ailments or symptoms to a global heart that was deficiently, spiritually deficient. And I'm going to post them here. We have here the 8 ailments. And number 1 is inner storm. Number 2 is paralysis. Number 3 is fear. Number 4 is separation. Number 5 is isolation. Number 6 is arrogance. Number 7 is self-righteousness. And number 8 is greed. Now, there's a lot to say about each one of them, and we've already gone through the first 4. So if you're interested, if you missed those, or if you want to review them again, we have them posted, I believe, on our YouTube, on the Respectful Confrontation YouTube page, where I offer what the ailment is and the remedy, and we do a practice to help you begin the process of understanding how to use that remedy. And this plays out individually and culturally. And it's more this idea of how can you look at this and see how this might be resonating with you, these 8 ailments. And with the premise that is fundamental in all the work I do, whether it's respectful confrontation, fear, civility, or any of the work I do, that the fundamental principle that to really bring about lasting cultural change, it has to start with personal transformation. That personal transformation is the most important first step in cultural transformation, lasting cultural transformation. And in fact, I would even posit that it is the only way that we can get to lasting cultural transformation. We can set up systems and policies, we can have regime change, we can have policy change, we can do all of that. That's external ways of dealing with it that might work for some, but probably for most not, in terms of shifting viewpoints, habits, patterns, and tendencies that are lasting. So the conclusion I come to, that to see lasting cultural transformation has to start with personal transformation. That brings the power back to you. That brings the power back to, if it starts with personal transformation, it starts with me. And there's plenty I know for myself. I don't know about you, but I can spend centuries working on my stuff. There's plenty I can do right in here with all of this. So when I think there's nothing I can do at this moment, I got plenty of work to do. I could be going day and night. And it's up for you it's for your own level of what I call courageous self-reflection to see if that might be true for you. So the question is, how are you being caught up in the world system that is created in each one of us, an inner storm, or a sense of paralysis, like there's nothing I can do, or an apathy, or a sense of fear or victimhood of like I'm not worthy or I couldn't do it, or the sense of I'm breaking up the world into compartments, into separation. And those are the things that we discussed, and then offer the remedy to that. Today, I want to talk about, well, one more thing I want to say about that is that in this process of the 8 ailments and the 8 remedies, the remedy is designed like homeopathic medicine, or like regular Western medicine as well, you could say. Is that if you have a cold, for instance, and you take cough medicine, you don't drink it once and then the cold instantaneously goes away. You go through a process of healing. And what I always say, actually, it's a good sign when you already have the symptoms of a cold, because that means the immune system has already kicked in and has already done its healing. You're no longer sick, you're now in the healing phase when you begin to feel the symptoms of a cold. I feel, if I may, where I have hope in the messiness of our current time, is that what we're seeing unfolding on our planet is the healing process. We were ill. And that all that we're seeing that's emerging in terms of that's coming to light, the old systems that are falling away, the new systems that are emerging, the things that we're seeing about structures that we thought were true and intact are now wobbly. That's already the healing process. That's where I find hope in our current time. So in the remedy that I offer, it's not something you can take once and it'll all go away. You keep repeating it and you go through that alchemical process. It's an uncomfortable process of that healing process. But in that process, you begin to rewire yourself, your nervous system, your heart, and all aspects of yourself. That inner storm turns into peace. That paralysis turns into action. That fear turns into empowerment. And that separation turns into a deeper level of interconnectedness. So today we're going to talk about isolation and how, and that's a symptom that many of us, I feel, fall into. And especially with the pandemic, where we are finding that where we've been isolated in a sense, where we've been forced to not have physical contact. I know many people right here in this on this call right now who are very much somatic centered. They really love the physical touch. They really love the engagement, being live, the hug, I would say breathing each other's oxygen. Remember when it was you didn't think twice about breathing someone's oxygen, you just breathed it. And giving someone a hug out of an impulse of love or friendship, that's all shifted. And I'm determined that we're going to get back to that on some level. We're going to get back to that. But that has really helped me look at that, and I wonder if it's helped more people look at that. Is that the system, how the system has set us up for even more isolation, and how that plays out for us. I mean, that can create a certain level of indifference, where it's easy to just be in your own little bubble, in your own little world, and not really connect with people who are different or strangers or the suffering of others. Or it's easy to say, that's not my problem. To say, oh, it's terrible what's happening on the other side of the world, and just feeling that's okay. Now I get that there's only so much we can take into our systems before we get overloaded. But this for me is different. It's in the ways that we are feeling isolated, and almost that the system is benefiting from that, because the more isolated we feel, the less we're creating new alliances, the less we're feeling empowered, the less we're actually reaching out and realizing that maybe what we've been told, where people are bad or different or dangerous, they may not be so dangerous or bad or different. And that it's keeping us all in our isolated bubble, so that we're not finding a way to connect with each other and see just how empowered we actually are. And that not only we individually powerful, power within, but that as we engage with others, particularly those who are different, and what I always say, to create alliances in surprising places, that's where we start empowering and invigorating ourselves. And that is the energy, the very energy, and that spiritual nourishment of engagement from the heart that sparks new life, that sparks new initiatives, that sparks hope, and that overcomes our differences. And where we let go, where we discover more about who we are and find the hidden jewel within each one of us and the hidden piece of the puzzle within each one of us. That when we come together, we can create the puzzle that's needed to find the solutions we need for moving forward. So that's just a way that isolation plays out. And part of that has to do with what I would say is that, we've become a culture where we don't value each other, and we are, many of us, suffering from a sense of, where do I belong? So in the challenge of isolation, there's a sense of, I don't belong anywhere. And that's a fundamental human experience. The very first thing, I believe, the very first thing we experience when, in most situations, when we are born, is we engage with our mother and our parents and our caregivers. And that first initial somatic experience of connection carries us through our lives, where we develop a sense, for many reasons, emotionally, psychologically, physically, interrelationally, of a sense of belonging. And without that sense of belonging, we get caught in a trauma state where we're always, in a sense, looking for, where do we feel safe? Where do we belong? There's another aspect of that, is that when you feel like you belong in a group, a family, a tribe, a society, you also feel that you have some level of a function, that there's a part of you that you feel purpose, you feel meaning. And we've kind of lost that, I would say, that, in ancient cultures, or even 200 years ago or 100 years ago, how our elders are now treated as opposed to how they were treated 100 years ago, or how they are treated in Western cultures as opposed to how they're treated in Eastern cultures or other cultures. That we get to see that everyone had a function throughout one's life, and that brings purpose and meaning. And these are just all the ways that I feel that we are challenged or suffering from this ailment of isolation, not feeling empowered, and that sense of indifference. And the remedy that I would like to present with that is, where is that? And again, this is a statement, and that's something you repeat and you cultivate. And in that, you get to examine how that can shift you in an alchemical way. The remedy is, I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. So that's the ailment. I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. Now, what is part of the remedy of that? What I would say to people is, get off your devices. When we are engaging on the streets again, is to actually just notice what's happening around you. Engage, engage, engage. I've been talking about that for years. How do we expect to solve our global problems if we can't even engage with our neighbors? If we can't even walk down the street and acknowledge that other human beings are walking there as well. We don't have to sit and have a long conversation. We don't have to breathe right on them or near them, but to just acknowledge that can shift someone's world, that can shift their life. Is that if they're walking down the street and they feel that someone has acknowledged them. It's so subtle and it's so simple. And I'm not saying that, I don't know. I mean, we'd have to investigate that. Let's try that. But the more we can validate people's existence, that people exist, we begin to shift this pattern of isolation, which I believe we had 40 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. And so part of this is aligning with groups, joining groups. What can you do to get out of this phase and to be more into a sense of, I have purpose, I have belonging. And I know many of you are already doing remarkable work to alleviate the suffering of others, to deal with what's happening on the planet. And I guess the question is every day, how is that going? Is that enough for me today? And if the answer is yes, great. But to consider, what more could I do? And it could be just another phone call. It could just be, just calling someone you haven't spoken to for a while, see how they're doing. What organizations can you engage with? The more we get engaged in this phase, especially coming out of the pandemic, the more I think we're going to find ways to overcome some of this ailment. And I really believe one thing to think about is that when in turn this part of I have a strong desire to alleviate suffering, is to consider that there's always someone who might be suffering more than you or struggling. And that is a starting point, is to think, I'm doing well, I've got my struggles, I would like to reach out for support in ways because I need to be supported. And to just imagine, just be thinking about this as often as possible, regardless of what I'm going through, there's always someone who has more struggles than I. And that might lead you into considering getting more engaged or involved, it might not. But the first part of it is to consider that. Might help you put into perspective, help you find more inner balance within yourself in terms of what you're struggling with. So I want to just offer that. That's the remedy for this ailment. I'd like to bring this into our practice. So if we can find our way into our posture, sitting in a way where your spine is straight without being rigid. Elongating from the back of your neck. So you're tucking in your chin a little bit, your jaw is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, your belly is relaxed. Letting your hands rest easily on your thighs or your knees without grasping, or wherever you want to position them. Bringing your full attention to your center in your lower belly, approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way in the body. Center of power, personal power, impulse, awareness. As we use this practice to come more into the present moment, we cultivate a deeper level of presence, awareness, balance, and flow, moving us through the world, within ourselves, with others, with more of a sense of presence, engagement, and resilience. From your center, become aware of the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on the floor. Using these as your contact points, allowing yourself to drop in, anchoring yourself in this present moment, cultivating a deeper level of felt experience of what it's like to feel held. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Listening to the signals that the body is communicating with you, listening to its wisdom in this present moment. From your center, become aware of your emotions. Without judgment, simply observing your emotions, which emotions seem to be most present, and in essence, listening to that information. What information does that reveal to you about this present moment? All feelings are welcome. From your center, become aware of your thoughts. What information are the quality of your thoughts are revealing to you at this moment about the present moment? Maintaining a connection with your center, your personal power, as you bring awareness to your heart center, the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides. And taking a moment for those of you who have done this practice, how strong of a connection or what kind of connection do you have with your personal power as soon as you just bring attention to it in your core, and just a felt experience of your heart power in your heart without having to think about it. Just what is your experience of connection with your heart and the power of your heart at this moment? From your center and from your heart, becoming aware of that part of you that connects with something that's larger than yourself. And checking in and seeing from that part of you, how connected do you feel at this moment to something larger than yourself? Once again, informing you with valuable information about this present moment. And from this place now, with a person with a more of a connection with yourself, just think to yourself or just speak to within your in your own inner voice. I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. Connecting that with your physical self, your emotional self, your mental self, your spiritual self. With more of an awareness with yourself in this present moment, From your center and from your heart, take a full deep breath in. With that awareness, with that affirmation in a sense, from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings in all directions. What information are you gathering from your surroundings at this moment with your eyes closed? Same affirmation. I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. And with more of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings, take a full breath in. And with this awareness and connection with the present moment, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those in this meditation circle. As always, in various parts of North America, Europe, perhaps other places. Imagine sitting in circle with these people. Imagine engaging with those in this meditation circle from your personal power and your heart. And with respect and honor, connecting with their personal power and their heart. And without even having to say it, as you engage with each other in this circle, just from your heart radiating out the statement that the others can receive it from their hearts. I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. And imagine each one of us nodding in acknowledgement, having received that message from you. And taking a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. With this awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those, all human beings, beginning with those that you would label loved ones. Notice who arises in your heart, specific faces, groups, and always incorporating this practice of what does it mean? What does it feel like that from my personal power, my core, and my heart, I engage with others with their personal power and their heart with honor and respect. And with the power and wisdom of your heart radiating the message to them that they can receive it and hear it, I see in each moment that we are all interconnected to your loved ones. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering, considering all the ways that you are interconnected. Through relationship, noticing an acknowledgement from them that they've received that message. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? Do you see specific faces? Neighbors, people you saw on the news or newspapers, groups of people, other parts of the planet. And as you stand face to face with them, from connecting from your center and from your heart, with respect and honor, From your heart, radiating out the message to them, I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. And that in their hearts, they receive that message. Considering in the ways that you might be interconnected with them. They may have grown the vegetables you've eaten today, driven the truck that got those vegetables to your supermarket. Etc., etc. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. As you stand face to face with them with honor and respect, checking in how much you're connecting with their heart at this moment. How open is your heart as you engage with them? No good or bad answer. What faces arise? Groups of people. And from your heart radiating out to them, the message, I see in each moment that we are all interconnected. I feel a strong desire to alleviate suffering. Be sure that your message is received. And in what ways are you interconnected with them? Bringing awareness now to all human beings, loved ones, stranger, and adversary, your connection with them, your interdependence or your interconnectedness with them. With an acknowledgement in the heart, taking a full deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Taking this experience so far with you, any new insights or acknowledgements, challenges, shifts in emotions. As you bring all human beings into your heart, that level of interconnectedness, that level of where we all are similar is in the ways that we are, all of us, whether we know it or not, are struggling in some way. And with all human beings in your heart, bringing that back now to our meditation group. As we re-engage with each other, sharing all humanity with each other in our hearts. Another level of interconnectedness. Taking all of those in this meditation circle into your heart as you now bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Gratitude for the surroundings you have at this moment, where you move around and take action. Taking your surroundings into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. Remembering the interconnectedness with yourself. And a strong desire to alleviate suffering. Noticing the effects of this practice in the energy you've generated, the heart energy, level of resilience. Allow that to flow into your nervous system, to your cells, your organs. Filling your battery, the battery of your core, your center. As a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath. And slowly open your eyes and stretch your body. Look around. As always, we had a chance to do our motivation, do our practice, and we have time to reflect. I'm curious if you have anything to reflect on what I talked about, on what came up for you in the practice. Feel free to unmute and share.
Hi, Joe. I noticed today that the same person came up for me as loved one, stranger, and adversary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time that's ever happened. I was like, I don't understand this part about my sister, and she's driving me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of an interesting little moment. Helpful, actually, helpful.
In what way helpful?
Because I've been struggling with her the last 24 hours, and I just keep thinking she's my sister. I love her. This is all fine. When actually she is in some ways a stranger. I don't really understand this part of her or even know it. And we're adversaries on this particular issue.
Right.
We really don't agree. And so just kind of realizing that one person can kind of be all of those at the same time was a good moment for me, to see her as all of that, and that she's probably seeing me the same way right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably shared, actually.
And then you get to see how really temporary and how illusory it all is, right?
Right. Totally. Yeah, it's a
that,
very temporary thing. Yeah.
yeah. Or compartmentalizes parts of you. Parts of her are adversary, parts of her are.
Right.
The purpose of this is that it loosens the rigidity around how we do compartmentalize people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you reverse it, like let's say you started with an adversary, then maybe you consider, wow, maybe somehow they could be loved one or stranger, or
Right.
which could open up the possibility of, wow, we could maybe be allies. We don't have to like each
Right.
other, but maybe we can find ways to solve our problems.
Right. Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Carrie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie, for this is Keith. What comes to me when I hear you talk about that, and I've certainly I share similar experiences of that with this practice, is that the experience of loved one, stranger, and an adversary is generated within. It comes from within. That's kind of what comes up for me. That it's my generation of that. It has a lot less to do with the external, with whoever that person or those people are. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Thanks, Keith.
I found it curious that when you brought in adversaries, there were a lot of horns honking outside of your window. I could feel that piece of kind of road rage of like, where I'm going is more important than you. And that that snarl that comes up in a car when someone is not going as fast as you want them to because your mission is more important. And then curiously, in the adversary thing, Proud Boys came to me. Not that I spend a lot of time judging or anyway, it was just like, they're the Proud Boys. And then what I thought about is how we as humans tend to join together with our like ones and put others outside of the circle to feel our belonging and how harmful that is actually.
Yeah.
And then I thought, right, so there's suffering in that group. So anyway, it just kind of opened my heart to not only recognize how we all do that in some regard of putting someone outside of the circle so that we can find our own belonging, and to soften that, to notice the suffering that's happening in different places and wanting to alleviate that. So thanks.
That's beautiful. I don't know why I think of this, Shelley, but it makes me think of all any teen movie is basically based on that, right? Any teen movie is about, I don't belong to this crowd. I'm not in the cool crowd, and the suffering that goes with that, and the desire and the need to, they're all about finding ways of belonging. And the suffering that's created in that. And
Right.
eventually, of course, in the end, they realize they're all connected and interconnected in some way, and they have a groovy prom night or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And how we all learn that, and the whole gossiping thing of like, put that person outside. You don't belong. I'm the cool kid. Yeah. Curious.
Mika. Anyone else? One more person?
For when you were doing the adversaries this time, somebody came up for me, a couple of senators, and who were fighting against, the vote. And Ted Cruz was one of them. And I just had this like slam door down. I mean, I just had boom, right. I'm like, whoa. So then I'm trying to pull forward the compassion, and it was like a door trying to lift, just a little, and it was hard to get it to lift more. So anyway, yeah, I just leaves me thoughtful about my own, how do I see the compassion or connection to the human being there? So.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, to be willing to be vulnerable and share that. And that's really what this is. It's a practice, right? You're stretching the muscle. And that's the purpose of it. The adversaries are usually the ones that stretch the muscle, that challenge the muscle the most of the heart. And that it's easy to say, but the remedy here is, in what ways is this person suffering? And it doesn't mean you forgive them of what they're doing, and it doesn't mean you excuse them. It's simply a way, and because in the end, I always say this, it has nothing to do with them. It's about you. It's about your cultivation of a deeper level of resilience, and living each moment in alignment with your highest values. It's all about your own, how you're cultivating that, which can only make you more resourceful and impactful in the beautiful work you're doing in the world. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. Next week, I'm going to do the next ailment and remedy. And then the week after that, we'll have a guest come in. As always, we dedicate this. So let's dedicate this to all of those who are struggling. Then may they find some relief at this moment in any small way, whoever they are. May we also show that same level of compassion and dedication and focus to ourselves in any ways where we are struggling. May we find ways to soothe that, or may ways be presented that they can be soothed. May all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. May all leaders and governments govern from a place of compassion, wisdom, respect, as opposed to greed and fear. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So as always, if you want to make a donation for this from your heart, feel free. The link is always the same. Please check our respectfulconfrontation.com website if you want to do more work with us in terms of the respectful confrontation training and other ways that we're offering ways to go deeper into harnessing these skills. And see you all again next week. Have a beautiful week. Keep practicing this affirmation and see what comes up, where in different parts of yourself, what that triggers and how that heals or reveals itself. Okay, be well, everyone.
Bye-bye, Joe. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.